There's this invisible crisis that surrounds us every single day. We breathe it in, we live in it, and honestly, we often don't give it a second thought. But air pollution, it's one of the biggest, most complex challenges we face. So in this explainer, we're going to decode that haze. We're going to figure out what's really in the air we're all breathing and why it matters so much more than you might think.
So when I say air pollution, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably an image just like this, right? Giant industrial smokestacks just pumping out these huge clouds of smoke. And yeah, that's definitely a piece of the story. But the real picture? Oh, it's way more complicated, and the sources are in some pretty surprising places that are part of all of our everyday lives. And this really gets to the core of why we should care. This isn't just some abstract environmental problem happening out there. The science is becoming crystal clear. This global issue has incredibly personal consequences for our health, for our families, and for our futures. To really wrap our heads around the scale of this, we've got to start by looking at the numbers. We need to understand the direct human cost that this invisible crisis is taking on us. 1.1 million. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the number of premature deaths from air pollution in a single year, 2020. And that's just in one region, the Indo-Gangetic Plain. This massive area stretching across South Asia is literally the most polluted region on the entire planet. For the longest time, we thought of air pollution as, a lung problem, something that causes asthma or lung cancer. But the latest research, wow, it's revealing a threat that is so much bigger. These tiny pollutants don't just sit in our lungs. They can travel all through our bodies. And now they're being linked to things like neurodevelopmental disorders and even an increased risk of dementia. So, who's the main culprit behind all of this devastation? Well, it's something called PM 2.5. We're talking about microscopic particles. They're more than 30 times smaller than the width of a single human hair. They are so incredibly tiny that when we breathe them in, they can actually slip past our body's natural defenses, get into our bloodstream, and start causing damage to our heart, our brain, you name it. But here's a really crucial detail you have to understand. The name PM 2.5 only tells you the size of the particle, not what it's actually made of, and that's a huge deal. See, one particle might just be a bit of soot from a wood fire, while another could be a toxic heavy metal from a factory. This means pollution from different sources can have totally different health impacts. That soot might mess with your lungs, but particles with heavy metals could be a much bigger risk for your brain. Okay, so if it's not just the big factories, where is all this dangerous pollution coming from? Well, the answers are hiding in some surprisingly everyday places. Let's start somewhere you might not expect, right inside the home. For millions and millions of people around the world, the simple, daily act of cooking a meal over an open fire, using fuels like wood or dung, fills their homes with incredibly dangerous pollutants. This kind of household air pollution is a massive and honestly an often overlooked piece of this whole puzzle. Then let's move outside, to the fields. After a harvest, especially in places like northwest India, it's common practice for farmers to just burn whatever's left of the crops. Why? Because it's a fast way to clear the land. But this practice, called crop residue burning, sends these enormous clouds of smoke up into the atmosphere, creating a regional haze that can choke cities and affect millions of people. And check this out. This visualization really drives home another major source, just heating our homes. If you look at this data for Europe and Central Asia, you'll notice that big flow at the top labeled traditional biomass. Now follow it. You can trace it right over to residential buildings. It's a perfect illustration of how our basic need to stay warm, often meant by burning biomass and coal, is a gigantic contributor to PM 2.5 emissions. So you start to see the pattern here, right? The crucial point is that air pollution isn't just one thing. It's woven into the very fabric of how we live. It comes from industry and power, absolutely. But it also comes from the cars on our roads, the fertilizers on our farms, the way we get rid of our trash, and how we heat our homes and cook our food. Okay, so the problem is clearly complex. That means the solutions have to be too. There's no single magic bullet. Tackling air pollution demands a strategy that pulls together policy, technology, and you guessed it, nature itself. So let's take a look at what that actually means. These two maps show you just how powerful good policy can be. I mean, just look at the difference. On the left, you see the world's PM 2.5 levels based on the policies we had back in 2018. See all that red and brown across Asia and Africa? Not good. Now, look at the map on the right. This is what the future could look like if we really get serious and implement integrated air quality and climate policies. The change is, well, it's dramatic.
It proves that ambitious, coordinated action can literally clear the air. Now, to get there, it is super important to understand a key distinction. On one hand, you have air quality management, or AQM. This is about local problems. Think of a single factory. The pollution it puts out directly harms the health of the people in the town right next door. That's an AQM issue. On the other hand, you have climate change mitigation, or CCM. That's global. That same factory's carbon emissions contribute to a worldwide problem. So it doesn't matter if it's in Ohio or Shanghai. They are absolutely linked, but you need different strategies to fight them. So let's apply this. Take transport, for example. It's one of the fastest growing sources of emissions. The strategy to fix it is this really elegant 3-step framework: avoid, shift, and improve. Avoid is the first step. It means designing our cities better with things like walkable neighborhoods, so we reduce the need to travel in the first place. Second, shift. This is all about moving people to more efficient public transit or onto bikes, or just walking. And finally, improve. This is for the vehicles we still need, making them way cleaner through things like electrification and much tougher emission standards. But our solutions can't just be about tech and policy. We have to look at sources that are kind of natural, but also made way worse by human activity. Dust storms, for instance. They are a massive source of particulate matter, and they're often supercharged by unsustainable farming that turns good land into desert. It's a huge reminder that we have to work with the planet's own system. And that is exactly where nature-based solutions come in. We can fight back by partnering with nature. This means huge projects like large-scale reforestation to hold back deserts. It means designing smarter cities with more parks and green spaces that act like natural air filters. And, like you see here, it also means better forest management to cut down on wildfire risk and promoting sustainable farming that keeps our soil healthy and on the ground. And listen, this isn't just some nice feel-good idea. These solutions get real, measurable results. I mean, look at Beijing. They launched this massive tree planting programs, and it didn't just make the city look prettier. It's estimated that it cut residents' exposure to PM 2.5 by over 4%, and that translates into saving up to $88 million in healthcare costs every single year. So when you put it all together, what's the big takeaway here? It's that the atmosphere doesn't care about our borders. Pollution that's released in one country can easily drift across continents, and suddenly it becomes everybody's problem. What this really means is that there's no one simple fix. There's no silver bullet. Cleaning up our shared air requires everyone to get on board. It takes national governments setting strong, clear policies. It takes industries adopting cleaner technologies. It takes our cities planning smarter communities. And yes, it takes all of us as individuals making more informed choices. In the end, the air we breathe is maybe the most essential thing we all share. It connects every single one of us with every breath we take. So the real question is, knowing everything we know now, how are we going to choose to protect it together?